A question of power. History books often tell a very specific kind of story. They present a grand parade of kings, presidents, generals, and powerful figures. We are taught that these individuals, through their wisdom, their ambition, their decrees single-handedly shape the world we live in today. This top-down view suggests change comes from the commands of the few in opulent halls. It paints ordinary people as passive observers, their lives a footnote. This perspective is more than storytelling. It claims power belongs to an elite. But what if this narrative is wrong? What if human progress isn't in palaces or boardrooms, but in the streets, the fields, the factories? True change bubbles up from below. It comes from collective actions, quiet struggles, unified demands. The American Revolution is often told as the story of George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, other founding fathers, but it was ignited by ordinary colonists. It was fueled by the Boston Tea Party. Abolition was not simply a gift from Abraham Lincoln. The Emancipation Proclamation mattered, but it followed decades of struggle by enslaved people and allies. It grew from slave rebellions, Nat Turner's uprising, and daily acts of defiance. It was driven by abolitionists like Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, and the Underground Railroad. The Russian Revolution wasn't only Lenin's idea, it followed years of strikes, peasant uprisings, soldiers' mutinies. People were starving, breadlines and ruined families, and they rose up. Even reforms like the 8-hour day weren't granted by bosses. They were won by decades of labor struggle, through massive strikes, protests, picket lines, despite police and private violence. The traditional historical narrative thrives on the myth of the lone hero. It tells us that history pivots on the decisions of a single, extraordinary individual. This idea is comforting because it is simple. It reduces the complex, messy reality of social change into a straightforward story with a clear protagonist. This focus on individual leaders is a dangerous oversimplification. By placing all historical agency in the hands of a few, it renders the rest of humanity invisible. Martin Luther King Jr., for example, was an incredibly powerful and eloquent leader, but the civil rights movement was not his creation. It was built on the foundation of local organizing, church groups, student activists, and brave individuals like Rosa Parks, whose act of defiance was part of a planned, collective strategy. No single person could have dismantled apartheid in South Africa. That victory was the result of decades of mass mobilization, strikes, boycotts, and international solidarity campaigns involving millions of people inside and outside the country. While Nelson Mandela became the global symbol of the struggle, he always emphasized that he was part of a collective leadership and a mass movement. The true force came from the township uprisings, the student protests in Soweto, and the persistent daily resistance of ordinary black South Africans. Their collective will was the engine. Mandela was one of its most important pistons. Therefore, when we attribute historical change to a single leader, we are not just getting the facts wrong, we are stealing history from those who actually made it. The reason ordinary people are the true motive force of history lies in a simple but profound concept: unity. An individual worker has little power against a massive corporation. In isolation, we are vulnerable and easily ignored or suppressed. The powerful rely on this isolation to maintain their control. They promote division along lines of race, religion, nationality because a fragmented populace is a compliant one. They understand that the greatest threat to their authority is not a single dissenting voice, but the moment those voices begin to speak in unison. When people unite around a common cause, their power grows exponentially. A strike by 10,000 workers can bring an entire industry to a halt. A mass protest of 1 million people can paralyze a capital city. While one stick may be easily broken, a bundle of sticks is strong. Consider the modern movements for climate justice. No single scientist, politician, or activist could force corporations and governments to act. The change is driven by a massive, decentralized, global movement. It is powered by students walking out of school, indigenous communities protecting their lands. Their power comes not from wealth or official titles, but from sheer numbers and a shared commitment to a livable future. Recognizing the power of the people is an act of historical reclamation. Our world was not simply handed to us by great leaders, it was built, fought for, shaped by unnamed millions who demanded dignity, freedom, justice. This understanding is empowering. History is not something that happens to us, it's something we can create. The future is unwritten. The pen isn't in the hand of a king or a president, it's in the hands of ordinary people who choose to unite. The story of history is our story.